something happened inside that number 19 car in the final 40 laps of Saturday night. Something that turned a career-defining win into a heartbreak Chase Briscoe is still trying to process. He had the fastest car on the track for 171 laps. He was about to erase 9 years of failure at a track that had never once been kind to him. And then, in the closing laps, everything fell apart in a way he still cannot fully explain, even now, days after the checkered flag fell. What makes this result even harder to accept is exactly how close he actually came before it all slipped away in the final run. This was Richmond Raceway, the track that had beaten Chase Briscoe 9 times in a row. Across 9 previous starts, he had 0 top 10 finishes, and his best result ever at this track was 11th place. This wasn't just bad luck stacking up year after year. It was a psychological weight he carried into every single lap he ran there, race after race, season after season. He called it a real struggle, and admitted it felt weird to be mad running second, at a place where he had never even cracked the top 10 before that night. His crew chief, James Small, added another layer to this curse, saying the number 19 team has lost far more races here than we've won, and we've won quite a lot. That single line planted the idea that Richmond wasn't just unlucky for Briscoe individually, it was cursed for the entire car number itself, no matter which driver happened to be behind the wheel of it. That history matters here, because it's the exact history Joe Gibbs Racing and the number 19 car dragged into Saturday night. And it's the same history that would come right back up once the race was actually over. Then Saturday night arrived, and for a while, it genuinely looked like the curse was finally about to be broken. Briscoe started second on the grid, passed pole sitter Ryan Blaney on lap 1, and led his very first lap ever at Richmond Raceway in his entire career. By the time the night was over, he had led 171 of 400 laps, a race-high total, more laps than anyone else on the track that night. He described being boxed in by a wall of Penske cars for much of the race, saying, "I thought I was in a Penske sandwich there for much of the race, and still came out ahead of every single one of them by the time the stages ended." Fans watching live were already debating in real time whether this was finally the night Richmond let him through. And that's exactly where NASCAR Trackline TV needs your help right now. We're closing in on 1,500 subscribers on this channel, and if you're genuinely enjoying breakdowns like this one, hitting that subscribe button helps this channel grow so we can keep bringing you races broken down exactly like this, lap by lap and quote by quote, every single week. With 171 laps led, and clearly the best car on the racetrack all night long, everything pointed toward a long-awaited win that had eluded him for nearly a decade. But inside the final 40 laps, that entire story changed in a matter of seconds. Briscoe had built a 3-second cushion over the field, and it evaporated almost instantly. In his own words, he started losing brakes, got really loose, and gave up the entire lead in a single run around the racetrack. He was explicit about exactly what that mechanical failure cost him. If he'd had even a small buffer left in those brakes, he believes he wins the race outright. At the exact same moment, in the number 22 car, Joey Logano's crew chief Paul Wolfe made the decisive call to pit the instant Logano took the lead. A strategy move that put Logano out front for good and never let him relinquish that position again. One mechanical issue on one car, one perfectly timed pit call on another. 2 completely different outcomes for 2 drivers fighting for the exact same win. The closing laps delivered maximum suspense for anyone watching from home or from the grandstands. Briscoe clawed back lap after lap, closing the gap all the way to the finish line, ultimately losing by just 0.392 seconds after everything he had thrown at Logano over that final run. His rawest reaction afterward carried the weight of a man who still believed, deep down, that he had the faster car underneath him in that exact moment. "I don't know what more I needed. I thought that last run I was a little bit better than him." That's a driver who, even after losing by less than half a second, was convinced he had Logano's number in those final moments and still somehow couldn't complete the pass for the win at the very end of a 400-lap race. The online reaction split almost immediately after the race went final. In the race day thread, one fan pointed out there were several legitimate, clean on-track passes for the lead that night, arguing the 2 best cars on the racetrack ended up front specifically because the racing itself was genuine, not lucky or manufactured. Another fan countered that green flag strategy stops on a short track like Richmond had taken away the ability to actually pass for the lead anymore, turning what should have been a straight fight into a strategy call decided on pit road instead. That ongoing debate mirrors the exact tension running through this entire result. Was this pure, unfiltered racing between Briscoe and Logano, or did strategy quietly decide the outcome before the checkered flag ever came out? Neither side backed down in that thread, and by the next morning the debate had spread well beyond that single race day discussion into wider conversations about how short-track strategy has changed the way these final lap battles actually play out. Back in the garage after the race, James Small didn't sugarcoat what had just happened to his team. His full reaction carried real, unmistakable weight. So second, in the scheme of things, is a great result. But right now, it's really disappointing because we had the better car and we didn't win. That is not spin from a crew chief trying to soften the blow for the cameras. That is a crew chief openly admitting, on the record, that the team had every tool needed to beat Logano that night and still failed to close it out when it mattered most. Briscoe himself, without being prompted by a single reporter in that moment, brought up an even bigger comparison, pointing directly to Martin Truex Jr.'s long history at Richmond in that exact same number 19 car, where dominant, race-leading runs repeatedly failed to convert into actual wins over the years at this specific track. The question now hanging over this entire team is whether this is still the same Richmond curse from years past, simply wearing a different driver's name on the door of the car this time around. Despite the heartbreaking loss to Logano, Saturday night still carried enormous stakes far beyond the finish line itself. Briscoe had been in real danger of being caught in the championship point standings by Tyler Reddick heading into that Richmond weekend, with the gap between them shrinking race by race. Instead, he walked away locking in 5th place in the overall standings and clinched his chase spot outright with his 6th top 10 finish in the last 7 races run. Briscoe called it directly what it actually was, a huge points night, in the same breath as calling the loss itself frustrating. To have one slip away like that, with only 2 regular season races left on the schedule before the chase officially begins, the margins separating these championship contenders remain razor thin, and a result like this one carries weight that stretches far beyond a single Saturday night under the lights at Richmond Raceway. So which is it? A team that comes up short against Logano exactly when it matters most, or a team that's one bad brake rotor away from being completely unstoppable heading straight into the chase? Tell me exactly what you think really happened in those final 40 laps down in the comments section below, and if this breakdown actually helped you understand the full story behind Briscoe and Logano at Richmond, take a second to share it with another NASCAR fan who needs to see this exact breakdown too. If you enjoy real NASCAR breakdowns like this, you'll like what's coming next.